Hey, 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 it's Tia, baby. And I am back with another video. So I'm going to do a brief video about Don Shelton. I don't know much about him because when I did look him up, he doesn't even have a Wikipedia. He has a fan base wiki page, but not an actual Wikipedia page. So I'm not sure what he has done after Selena Dino's disband due to the unfortunate circumstances of Selena. So I don't know, but I know he was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, Nucleus County. I think that's the same county that Selena and Chris got married in, and he died also in the with the same area he was born. He was born December 8th. He passed away December 2nd. So he died 6 days before his birthday. And he was 42, I think, when he passed. So he was very young. And unfortunately, he passed away from cancer. Didn't specify which type. At this point, it doesn't even matter. Cancer, I can't stand that word. And also when I did get a little bit of information, on findagrave.com, his mom also passed away recently. His mom passed like last year. She looked her picture, she looks just like him. She looks very young. She passed away at 81. She was born and raised in the same area he was born and raised, and passed away in Corpus as well. So yeah, it really wasn't a lot of information on him. However, I know that, like I said in the other videos, Selena and Don they've been friends even before he joined the band, because it is a video out there surfacing on YouTube where they are rehearsing for, I guess he's like choreographing her dance. This was back in the 80s, because he had a high top fade in that video. So this was before he joined the band. And when he joined the band, he was a backup dancer and backup singer for Selena Dinos. Now, I do agree with supporters saying that at the end, especially at the end of the documentary. Now, I'm not sure. I didn't watch the entire ending, meaning once the credits came on, it went off. I turned it off. Maybe at the very end of the documentary, maybe they put "In Love and Memory of Don Shelton" and put like the years that he was in the band. I don't know, but if they didn't, that's messed up, because he and Selena were, really, they were cool and they were close enough. They were like family. All of them were, from what they will always say. So why wouldn't you put "In Love and Memory" of both Selena and Don Shelton? That would Don Shelton. I hope I said it right. I think that would have been very, very appropriate and very much a good tribute if they couldn't talk more about him in the documentary. But I believe if Selena was here and they just did a documentary of the band and she was still alive, she would definitely talk about each and every individual that was in the band. She would have talked about Pete. She would have talked about Don. She would have talked about Joe. She would have talked about Ricky. She would have talked about Art. She would have talked about even the past members that were in the band before, when they first got started. She would have talked about all of them, how they met, how they got in the band, and all of those, and maybe even made sure that they were in the documentary doing a small interview in these bands. Of course, Chris as well, and her brother and sister. So I'm not understanding why, and I've said this in previous videos in the past, when they do a Selena project, they need to incorporate it. What if Selena was here? What would she have done? What would she have incorporated? What would she have how would she have created this? But they're not thinking that way. They say they do when they put out these projects, but when you see them, it doesn't this doesn't feel Selena. This doesn't incorporate Selena, because if that were to be true, then they would have talked about each and every member of that documentary, whether they're going through trials or tribulations or not. They still would have included them. They may not have included an image, but they could have included them verbally. And then on top of that, if she was still here, nothing would be going on legally between members. None of that. She wouldn't allow that to happen. And the fact that if that is happening and that's why they wasn't included in the documentary, that is all on them, not on nobody else. That's all on them. And that's wrong, because yes, Selena was the lead singer and she did make the band. However, they were one, like on Drumline, one band, one sound. That's what that was. One band, one sound. Nobody was higher or better than the other. They were a team. They were a family. They were a band. Even if Selena was still here, if her sister wasn't there, the band wouldn't be the same. There was a point where I think Suzette was sick or whatever, and they had somebody to fill in. It didn't feel the same for her, but the show must go on. The same with Chris. When Chris was quote unquote fired from the band because of their marriage, or because not even their marriage, because they found out, well, Dictator found out that they were together, he let him go. The band wasn't the same. It was cold, it was awkward, but the show must go on. But you can tell that when someone is missing. And so for them to just not disclude, I don't even think that's a word. Well, yeah, it is a word. No, it's not. It's not a word. Exclude. I'm sorry. And exclude the other members, because disclude is not a word. Exclude the other members from the band because of your own personal or legal matters is still wrong, because at the end of the day, they were still a part of the band and they should have been mentioned. Even if it was for a minute, they should have been mentioned in the band. All of them, even Freddie, all of them. And of course they will probably say, well, it's about Selena and all that. Then you should have named it Selena and not Selena y Los Dinos, because Selena y Los Dinos is a band. That's not a person. Selena is a person. So I'm just like, they should at least, especially for Don, because he has passed, they should have did a tribute to him at the end. And then they should have talked about all of them. How they got in the band, how they met. And especially the past members that aren't in it, the ones that started out with Selena y Los Dinos, they should have been in the documentary, and so we could see who they look like now and what they're doing now. Why didn't they do that? And then give their thoughts and opinions about Selena. Why? Because if they incorporate these people, that means that they gotta pay them. Is that why they didn't put them in? Because they got to pay them to do an interview and to make an appearance? Okay, what's wrong with that? And if that is the case, and if that's the reason why they weren't included in the documentary, that's messed up. That's effed up. Because everything ain't all about money. And why wouldn't you be able? Why shouldn't you? Why wouldn't you share your royalties with this the success of this documentary to the people that was in the band? Because if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be a band either. Like they were all a part of the success. Whether it was for a little bit, they were a part of the success, so they deserve those royalties. They deserve that money if they were a part of the documentary. because then they will be telling us something that we don't know. And then that is also a good contribution to the documentary, because we don't know what these people look like now. The ones that, not the popular, not the members that, that are known, but the ones before that was in the 80s. We don't know what they look like now. We can assume, or we can Google it. But if they were appeared on the documentary to share their little never before seen or heard or known fact about Selena, that would have been a great contribution. That's why I said that would have made the documentary stand out more. If people that were involved in her life that we never seen in years or heard from would definitely do it. Same thing with, like, maybe they could have got some of her teachers, even though she wasn't in school in person all the time, but she was in school for a second, if they still alive, or a classmate, or a neighbor that she became close with or was very cool with, or maybe one of the children in the neighborhood that she clinged to. Maybe they could have been on the documentary and said something, and said a sweet moment about her, a sweet interaction between the two. That would have made it outstanding, or that would have made it stand out more. Think outside of the box. That would have made it different than any other documentaries out there. But I always be giving out, and I'm not trying to take credit for nothing, but I'm going to take credit, but I am going to take credit where it's due. Because like I said, I was the one that said that this documentary should makes more sense to be on Netflix, because the daggone series was on Netflix, and then a lot of people have Netflix, so it'd be easier to watch, and you'll get more money out of it. You will have to share, you will have to make, of course you will have to, make a business deal and pay Netflix a certain amount to get it broadcast on it, but it's still more money, because then more viewers, instead of just trying to do it on some festival and everybody can attend, and then you got people posting it, at the festival, and then post it on the internet, and which is what happened, and this is why it didn't work out, and they had to pay all that money back when they could have just put it on a network. Obviously, they heard what I said. I mean, somebody else could have said it too, but I don't know. All I know is I said it. So, and I've always given them pointers on my videos, period, about, incorporating other celebrities that were fan and were inspired by Selena to be on an album, a new album and things like that, but they still have yet to do it. But that's a great, since it seems like they, all about making money, which is not a problem. You should make money out here. It's hard. Like, the economy is ridiculous and everything is expensive. So yeah, you should hustle hard and make your money. I'm trying to make my money. So I'm not, knocking the cues for making money. But if you're going to make money, do it the right way. Do it the authentic way. Do it think about what would Selena do. Not just throw anything out there just to make a buck. Because then you're going to find people that's going to say some negative stuff about your projects because it's looking like that. I said it, and I'm gonna say it again. The advertisement was more entertaining. The promotions were more entertaining than the actual documentary. Seeing Chris and Suzette doing interviews together or doing questionnaires together was very much entertaining, because we always thought that them two were at odds with each other after everything had happened. And to see them two together, it brought light to the situation. It made it fun. It made it entertaining. It made it laughable. It made them human. But that documentary, no, it was not that great. And then people are criticizing or talking about, the dictator. Well, Abraham will be respectful. Abraham's not emotionless in the documentary. I didn't find anything. I didn't find that, in, worrisome, because a lot of men are emotionless. I'm not saying that that's the right thing to be, but a lot of men hold in their emotions because they were raised to be men. They were raised that you can't show your emotions, or you weak because you cry, whatever. And he's old school, so that is probably why he wasn't emotional. You never know what he does when he's at home. He could cry, and he probably still cry himself to sleep when he's at home, because losing a child, I do not want to imagine that. But you never know what he goes through when he's at home. But in the limelight, he's not going to show his emotion because he's old school. He was raised not to show his emotion, probably. And so you don't barely see Chris cry. So, I mean, you see him get a little, choked up, but you don't see him cry because he probably was, the same way. So it's more of a man thing than anything. I don't think that he doesn't care that his daughter passed away. I don't think that he doesn't care about the circumstances. I think he probably beats himself up all the time at home. Is it my fault? Why did I let my dreams interfere with my child's dreams? And maybe she would be here. You never know. He could be thinking this at home. I may not be a fan of him, but I'm still a human being, and I still have empathy for others, and I still try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I do think that he, you never know, he may beat himself up at home, with his wife or with his family, but just don't show it in the public eye because he doesn't want to be looked at as weak. You never know. We don't know what people go through behind closed doors. So I do, even though I say what I say about that man, because I do have my opinions, and that's what they are, opinions about that man, I still think that he is still human and that he still has feelings. And so I take that into consideration at times. Do I take back the things that I've said about him in the past? No, because they are my they are my opinions. Just like he say things that's hurtful to people, but do he take it back? No. So, I mean, we all human. We do have flaws. We do make mistakes. We do make bad decisions and everything. And we do, empathize and sympathize with people. That's just what we are. We're human. But we shouldn't excuse bad behavior because we're human. Everybody, including myself, need to take accountability for things that we've done or said. And that's just period. That's a generalized statement for me and for anybody. But I will say this. I had it and then I lost it. So in the documentary also about Abraham, he mentioned, let me see, what did he say? That somebody like I heard another, I don't know if this person was a blogger or not, but I saw it on Facebook, and she posted a video about the documentary, and she was basically giving her opinions about it and thought that it wasn't it's kind of similar to what I was saying, but she was mainly talking about how Abraham was acting and all of those things, and and which is why I said what I said about him. Yeah, he was emotionless, but you just never know what he goes through at home. He probably is putting on for the camera to not let his emotions out. But you never know. He probably released all that at home. You just never know. I have heard, I don't know if I read it in a book or if I read it in an article, but I know during that time when she first passed away, I think Marcella heard some noise in the bathroom. And I think he was in the shower or something, and she heard him crying, like breaking down, crying. So that's why I'm saying you just never know what people go through behind closed doors. He could have just let it out. You never know. Like even now to this day, he probably goes somewhere in a private room and just scream and let it out. And you know, his wife is probably used to it because she knows, but we don't see it because we don't live with him. So we don't know what this man is suffering from. We don't know. Well, I don't want to say suffering. We don't know if this man is still, you know, holding on to guilt or the past. We don't know. And then I'm sure he's not in therapy because he's old school. Most old school men don't go to therapy because they think it's that crazy, that, you know, you have to be crazy to go to therapy, when therapy is for everyone. And I believe 100% that everyone should go to therapy, even children. Everyone. Because this is a sick world. Everyone should go to, especially now, everyone should go to therapy. Everyone. But it was something that he said in the documentary that I wanted to talk about, but it just went right over my head. And I don't want to waste no more time trying to think about it. I'm trying to like keep talking so it can just pop right back in. Because I know he talked about the boutique. I know he talked about the money and where it was coming from. I know, and I've already talked about that. He briefly talked about her, what happened to her demise. He didn't discuss who it was, but he talked about it. He did talk about them eloping. Oh, I know one of, and this is not what I forgot, but I don't know if it was Suzette or Abraham that said that they believed that they really didn't want to get married. I don't know if one of them said that. I don't think that is true. I don't think they did not really want to get married. I think they wanted to get married, but I'm sure they would have waited if circumstances were different, if they were more accepting of their relationship, then I think they probably would have waited a little longer to get married. But I know Suzette said she's glad that she got to experience marriage because of what happened to her. So that, you know, she turned it around to a positive. But I don't think that they didn't want to get married, period. I think that they just, you know, it happened sooner than later because of how the parent, how everybody will react to them being in a relationship. And they felt that, and Selena felt like, you know what, if we get married, they gonna have to accept them, and that it's a done deal, it's solid, and they you know, they can still be mad, but there's nothing they can do about it. Whereas over a relationship, you know, just a regular boyfriend girlfriend thing, you know, it's easy to mess that up because it's not a contract involved. But I don't think that they just never wanted to get married. I just think they wanted to wait. I think they initially wanted to wait till the right time and have everything right. But because of how they were acting towards them two being together, that's what pushed them to do it sooner than later. So I think those were the wrong choice of words to use. But she cleaned it up by saying she's glad that they got married sooner because of what happened to her later. And I know she talked about that they wanted to have kids, and that they wanted her kids and Suzette's kids to play with each other and all of those things. And that brought tears to her eyes. So, I mean, like I said, these people are still human. They are still human, and they are still gravitating to the loss of their loved one. And it doesn't get any better. It gets easier, but it doesn't get any better, because you still got moments where you know, even though they don't celebrate holidays and things, but you just got memories, and you got things that may spark up a memory that may cause a painful emotion. Or, you know, the fact that she has kids. Suzette has kids and they're grown up, and she wished that, you know, Selena was here to see them grow up, to see them achieve their accomplishments, and and wish that Selena had kids so they can, you know, grow up together and do things with each other, and, you know, continue the generation, continue the legacy and things like that. So what, you know, I'm sure they always think about what could have been, what would have been, and that can bring up some emotion. So it doesn't get better. It just gets a little easier. and I don't have that experience. I do have an experience of a lost one. Like, I lost my grandmother when I was 16 years old. She was like a second mother to me. She was my great grandmother, but she was my grandmother. And, not many people can say that they were raised or helped being, was helped being raised or had a close relationship with their great grandparents. It's more so their grandparents. But I was blessed enough to be, to know my great grandmother, to be partially raised by her, because my mom was young when she had me. And so my mom and I lived with my great grandmother for a moment, and my grandmother, she helped my mother. Like, when we moved out of my grandmother's house, my great grandmother's house, we moved into an apartment. But when my mother had to work, and when it was days where I didn't have school, whether it was like Christmas break or winter break. Well, they called it Christmas break back then, but now that everybody's so finicky about beliefs, now it's winter break, or summer break, or anything like that. I would go to my grandmother's house, and so she was definitely like one of my first friends. She was like somebody that I talked on the phone with. Sometimes even if I didn't feel like talking on the phone or calling her, once I got on the phone, it was like that feeling went away. We would laugh for hours. When I was around her, we would play games. She taught me how to play tic-tac-toe. She encouraged me. She loved that I knew how to draw at such a young age. Even though back then that my drawing was pretty mediocre, but she thought it was so amazing. She was a very important person in my life, like my mother is too, but my grandmother was very important in my life as well. We had a bond like no other. And when she passed, it was very hard for me. And I was blessed to have had her in my life for the first 16 years of my life. And that's very rare, to have a close relationship with your great grandparent for 16 years. She was in my life from birth to when I was 16 years old in high school. And it was very painful, and it was very surreal when she passed away, because she would always talk about when she passed away, don't give me flowers, don't put flowers on my grave. And I always would dismiss it, because I don't never want to hear the fact that she passed away. And then when she actually did, it was, surreal that she's not literally here, because I thought she would live forever. We all think that about our parents and our grandparents. And, and our birthdays was literally 3 days apart. And it has gotten easier as the years, because it's been 20 years. She died in 2020. She died in 2002. It's 2025. So it's been about 23 years since she has passed. Literally, she passed away in November 10th, 2002. So it's literally been 23 years and some change that she has passed on. And it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get better. It gets easier to cope with her being gone, because I know that she's not suffering anymore. I know that she is with God. She was a very, very, she was very much into her faith. She loved the Lord. So I know that's where she is. And, but it still hurts to know that she's not here physically, because she didn't get to see me graduate from high school. She didn't get to see me graduate from college. She didn't see me get to achieve many of my accomplishments as an adult. She didn't get to see me see her first great grandchild. She didn't get to meet, my son's father. She didn't get to experience my brother growing up, because when she passed away, my brother was 4. So it's bittersweet. And and then my mother and her had a close relationship, especially when my mother was a child. And I think that my grandmother lived when my mother got older. And then I came in the world. It was like a second chance of her having that relationship she had with my mother with me, because it was like a second her, a second, version of my mother. But I very much cherish those memories. I knew how to ride a metro bus because of my grandmother, because we would catch the bus to the store, grocery store. We rarely caught the train, but I think my mom taught me how to do that. But my grandmother taught me how to catch the bus. She, I don't like going to the grocery store now, but I enjoy going there into the grocery store because of my grandmother back then. It's a lot of things that she did for me as a child, and she made my childhood years very, very cherishable, memorable, and I think of her a lot, but not as much as I used to because of life. But that doesn't mean I've forgotten about her. I met a lot of good friends, being at my grandmother's house, and I just had a dream about some of my childhood friends growing up, wondering where they are, and stuff like that. And it's just it hurts sometimes when you think about her. It hurts when I think about her. It does hurt. It does. Sometimes I cry, but not all the time. But sometimes I cry, and because I see a picture and she's not here to experience things that I would like for her to experience, would like to talk to her and hear her voice. Can't do that anymore. And so that's why I empathize with the Q's, because of things like that. So I'm mad that I don't remember what I wanted to talk about in terms of Abraham. It was something that that sparked in me, but it went away. But maybe it wasn't meant for me to talk about it, or maybe it was meant for me to talk about it in another video. So I'm gonna leave the note at that, and I will get back with you guys with another video. I hope that you enjoyed the videos that I've posted so far, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Peace.